capito, no capito. And I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I just pronounced one little thing. It's like saying water and water. Like, you knew what word I was trying to say. Did someone else have a question? I saw. Yeah, I was asking as an American how you speak up or make questions respectfully with Asian team, as Asian could take direct, straight message as offensive. Oh, that's a good question. Because when you're working with different nationalities, you really, really learn how people take to you. So Americans are seen as, you know, a bit sensitive, emotional, direct, because you know how, even if you look at the social media right now, how involved we all are emotionally and passionately about what's going on in the world. So a lot of people see that about us. Me specifically, I am a direct person when I work because I'm used to working in that way. If I need to present a design and I needed to get it approved, I don't need like a runaround answer. I need like a yes or no, like what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
So we're not wasting time, and I can go back and, you know, yeah, because it's a waste of time if you're running around the bush and not trying to hurt people's feelings. Like, because creative people are, you know, we're creative. So, you know, the first thing is if someone, you know, offends your work, someone's probably going to get offended by that. But again, if you work in a business, you need to put your feelings aside and also take good critiques, good criticism. So, for me, I do appreciate directness. I appreciate that from leadership, whether it's a black and white answer, yes or no. But you also need to look at, you know, I haven't completely changed, but I evolved myself around certain people. So I'm still like direct to the point, Alicia, and people, it's been 3 years now, people know how I am. They know how, if I come to a meeting, I know, you know, I'm going to want to know like this, that, and the third. I'm going to do a recap. Like, they know I'm pretty much to the point. And I think sometimes that helps influence how some people speak to me. Like if they're not so direct, they know what I'm looking for, a direct answer. So maybe they'll come out of themselves and give me that. But even for me, like when I navigate working with different people, I know how to, you know, tone down the directness, but still, you know, ask for what I need in a way that's not too offensive, because I understand culturally someone like you mentioned, Pete, that you were afraid of me because I spoke English really well, which I don't know that, you know, I don't, coming into a new territory, I'm not aware that I can be intimidating to someone who English isn't their first language, you know? So that's another thing that I learned within myself, like, you know, to not take things to heart and to understand people relate and connect with different cultures differently. And I think that's very important. You know, you are self-aware that, you know, this is how Asian people come off to other, you know, other nationalities, but maybe there can be a case where you can probably see that about yourself and see what you can do to be a bit more confident, because I know you, Pete, you're confident in and of yourself, but, you know, and that might be the case for most people. You can be confident, but once you're in a certain territory with other people because of a language barrier, that confidence changes. I go through that being here. You know, I speak English in a place where people speak Italian. So I as confident as I am, if I'm in a situation where I need to talk my Italian, I start to talk slower, because I'm like, first of all, they probably gonna make fun of me because of how slow I'm talking Italian. You know, second, you know, it's a different dynamic that you're in, because if I was in America and I needed to stand up for myself about something, I would do it like, you know, no issue.
I know you.
Here, it's a bit frustrating because, you know, you already have to add your second language that you have. So speaking Italian to really try to explain what you're going through is a bit of a frustration. And then also that insecurity of speaking a language that's not your first language. When I speak Italian to other people, I do appreciate the people who are really nice and they understand what I'm trying to say. And, you know, they talk slower to me so that I can understand. But then I encountered some people who, if I pronounce my R wrong, they will be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. No capito, no capito. And I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I just pronounced one little thing. It's like saying water and water. Like, you knew what word I was trying to say. So I understand your struggle about the insecurity when it comes down to talking to another language, because English isn't the first language here. So I spend my day-to-day for the past 3 years of navigating a community of speaking another language, you know? And sometimes I do find myself, like, if I am in a situation where I'm very insecure, I'll say parli inglese, like that's my first cop out. I'm like, do you speak Italian? I mean, do you speak English? Which I'm learning now to not use that, because that is a handicap. I can't, if I'm interacting with people, the first thing I say in Italian can't be, do you speak English? Because I've been studying it for a while now, and I need to just go out and just use my language, since I mean, use the Italian language, you know. So that's what I've been doing more and more. And it's nice. Like, even like daily interactions that I have with like my beauty lady, like when I go chat with her, we be talking about personal stuff in Italian. Like, it's super, I don't know. I think once you get past your insecurity, which is a normal human thing to have. Like, I'm insecure when I speak another language. But I do wish that people who come to Thailand who aren't Asian, I wish they were aware of what you guys feel, and they can be a bit more gentle when they are dealing with someone who doesn't speak English as their first language. Because when you look at the reality of that, these people, these foreigners, are entering territories that aren't their territory. So they need to respect Thailand, respect the language, you know, and don't come in high and mighty like I'm better than you because I speak English. You know what I mean? Also, you know, I asked you, are you offended when people correct your English? Because I remember when I was living in Italy, you remember, like with Daisy, when
Daisy mentioned that.
Yeah, Daisy will always get upset with me because I wouldn't correct her. And I'm like, Daisy, that's rude. I'm not going to interrupt you and be like, no, it's I don't even know a word. Like, I'm not going to interrupt you and correct your
especially
English.
when it comes to the career or like communicate with the team. It's not appropriate to do it. Like,
it's not
appropriate.
What? It's not appropriate.
I mean, like, even Italian people, they don't do it. Like, when you try to speak Italian, they're not gonna be like, no, it's wrong.
I'm always speaking Italian to them, and they're so patient. They're like, and they'll teach me. So I have one guy on my team. He teaches me a lot of bad stuff. He teaches me all the bad stuff to say in Italian. But I really appreciate them because they know that I obviously respect the culture, and that you know, I respect enough to be taking lessons. I've been taking lessons for 3 years now, and yeah, I think the world is such a melting pot, and I think we need to respect each other's differences and, you know, be mindful of how you interact with people. So for me, my definition of sustainability is basically learning the world that we live in and learning how not to hurt it. As humans, we coexist on the planet with other species, and as humans, we're so bad to our home, you know, like the plastic issue, the plastic in the oceans, you know, just so many things, even with like pollution in the air, from like cars and things like that. I think we're really bad to the place that we call home. So for me, my definition of sustainability is wrapping around your head around the idea of what can we do to make things better. Sustainability touches on the topic of, you know, product that supports the environment, uses the environment's resources in a healthy way, and not in a way that causes damage. That's not a Webster's definition, but that's my definition. So I think currently sustainability has become like a trend. So you know how people do trends, they fall in of a trend, and then they fall out of a trend. Trends come and go. I think currently when you look at the fashion industry, sustainability is a trend. Because people see how popular it is. So people who normally weren't, you know, curious about sustainability now are, which isn't a problem. We need more people to be sustainable. But I hope it continues, you know, and doesn't fade off like a trend that goes away. Working at Timberland has always put sustainability at the forefront, to the point that our collection, at least 90% of our collection is like organic cotton. You know, we do organic fibers, we do recycled materials for like our nylons. So we push a big initiative on how to be, you know, recycled. And because that is already our DNA, we don't hike up our prices. We already have our premium quality prices of what we already introduced to the market. I think the reason why other companies are making the sustainable items so expensive, because sustainability isn't something that they're used to doing. So for them, for their company, you know, investing in these fabrics or, you know, recycling things and things like that, that might be a bit more expensive for them to do. So that's why they're going in and they're charging their consumers way more. But what I say is, you know, it is a trend, and I'm hoping that it stays, and I hope that they can find a way to bring down that price, because, you know, at the end of the day, as I said, we're all humans and we all live on this earth. And it's like the way you would take care of your home, it should be the same way that we take care of the planet. You know, there's so many things that's going on in the world that is, you know, to be honest, quite frankly, is because of humans. We aren't taking care of our home. And I think sustainability is the perfect answer to that, the perfect answer to how we can really, you know, find solutions in a cool way. Like, there's a lot of brands who are doing cool things, like Adidas, when they did the Parley sneaker, when they did recycled water bottles to make their sneaker. We also have a lot of footwear platforms within Timberland outside of the yellow boot, where we've taken recycled plastic and we make shoes out of that. So I think people just need to be, you know, more conscious of that, and more conscious of, you know, protecting the environment. And yeah, I think more consumers can probably be interested in that as well, how they can support a brand who supports their personal mission. And it's not just about putting out fashion, something that looks cool one day and then it's not cool the next day. It's about really valuable, tangible stuff that really has meaning. And then it could be cool at the same time, depending on how we market it.
How they going to do like sustainable products for the customer?
I think you can take different routes with that. There's a lot of companies who are doing upcycle projects. So during my time of quarantine, I've been quarantined with my sewing machine. So I've been taking like some of my old clothes and, you know, making them new so I can want to wear them again. When you think about the topic of circular design, for anybody who doesn't know, circular design is, you know, literally it's a circle, it's closing the loop. Normally people design in a line where, you know, you get your resource, you know, you make a garment out of it, and then when you're not wearing it anymore, you just throw it in the trash. That's a linear way of designing, which isn't good for the environment, because when you get to that trash, you end up having a landfill of all this polluted stuff that can't be recycled, that can't be, you know, it can't go into the earth because it's made of things that aren't recyclable, and then it lands in our ocean. So that's a really bad way of designing linearly. But when you talk about circular design, it's how we can close that loop. And you close that loop by starting with your resource, the product that you made, you know, the consumer's wearing it. And then when he's done using it, he can put it in a place where he can recycle it. And it goes back to you can put it back in that manufacturer and that factory and recycle that fabric and make a new fabric. And then you start over again with your resource to making your product to your consumer. The consumer's done using it, recycle it, and it's a closed loop. And I think in order to really, you know, effectively do that, small businesses can think of many ways, whether you're really mindful of the fabric that you're using to make sure that it can break down. So I did like a circular design training, and they showed us that, you know, a lot of fabrics have, if you make a fabric, like this is 100% cotton. So this is going to easily recycle. If it's going to a site for recycling fabric, they're going to take my 100% cotton t-shirt and put it in one pile. However, if I'm wearing something that has like polyester and cotton, they need to put that in another section because it's not that easily to break apart the fibers. So I think as designers, if you're curious, you know, if you're cautious about what's 100% organic, what can be recycled and things like that, that's how you can really, you know, take the first approach of, you know, making product that's going to have a closed loop life cycle. On top of that, I mentioned upcycle. A lot of brands or not a lot of brands, a lot of designers are, you know, thrifting and making clothes new. Another thing in circular design, you know, as consumers, I relate to this obviously because I'm a consumer as well. We buy something, you know, and then we don't want to wear it anymore. Like 6 months later, it's in our closet, and we forget that we even have it. So the idea of upcycling, I think, is a nice approach to give new life to your clothes that you aren't going to wear anymore, so that you can stop buying so much things mindlessly, you know. So yeah, like as I mentioned before, I've been taking a lot of my old clothing, stuff that I don't really wear, and making it new. And I can't wait till, you know, we're fresh out of quarantine so I can pop out in my new outfits.
I saw that. I saw it. Yeah, it's very interesting that you know people can investigate about like how sustainability and like you know circular design gonna work out at in the fashion industry. And I hope it's not gonna be just only a trend or the
Yeah.
content that people are gonna use as a marketing tool
Yeah.
to promote their brand or the product. So I think because like I'm really into it about this situation, and I love secondhand clothes, and I love to like you know create a new thing. And you know
Yeah.
like my collection is all about finding the fabric that I went to the flea market, and you know how I get the fabric from.
You know, just to bring back the first story that I mentioned in our first hour of the live about how shocked I was that I won the first place scholarship to something that really changed my life 5 years later. You know, it's not that I didn't believe in myself, but I was competing against a global audience, you know? So
Mm,
I didn't know what my talent could be in comparison to people in global areas, you know? So that's why I say don't limit yourself. I think when people limit themselves, they don't even try. They don't try to apply to something because they're like, oh, I'm not going to be good enough for that. Oh, so and so might be better. So, but I think having that mindset really stops you in your track. And I think the more you believe in yourself, and really just act on your beliefs in yourself, and apply for stuff, things that you think that you won't be able to get, do it anyway, and you never know where that would take you. I think once you get ahead of that first part, research is also important. So when I was looking, I obviously spent a lot of time researching when I first moved to Italy to learn more about the country and to understand, where I could live and things like that. So I did a lot of research to understand the culture, and really just navigate like where you would want to live. If there's a country that you feel like, it's a certain lifestyle that you might be able to relate with, again, research and see how you can fit into that narrative, or if you just want to try to do something different. So I think, believing in yourself, researching, areas, whether it's a different country that you want to live in or a different city. I know a lot of people who probably haven't moved outside of their current city. So moving to a different city within the same country is also a big step. So I think you need to research that. Also, I think that applies to careers as well. If you don't know what you want to do in terms of your specific job, or like if you don't see jobs being posted or whatever, I think the first thing you should do on your career search is think of a brand that you like, that you resonate with, a brand that you feel like has its values, the same values that you have, a product that you obviously like, and then you'll see, where that company is located. So that's the first thing you do. Find a brand that you would love to work with. And then, you can find out what those job postings are for that job. If you want to get into corporate, find out what the job postings are. If there aren't any job postings, you can still do your research and find out who HR is in the field that you want to be in. So if you want to be in design, you find out who the HR lead is for design. And they may not have a job listing or posted for design specifically, but if you contact, I think LinkedIn is a powerful tool if you are in the corporate world, because
Yeah,
you can reach
Lincoln.
out to that HR design person and be like, just send. It's nothing wrong with sending emails. We live in such a virtual world. You introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Alicia. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a designer, and I'm really interested in your brand. I would love to stay in contact if you have any opening roles that might open in the future. And I think that's very important, specifically in the coronavirus. So most specifically for my industry, I think a lot of industries as well, a lot of companies are on hiring freezes. So because of coronavirus, I think you guys seen in America, currently the unemployment rate is very high.
Yeah,
So currently in America, the hiring freeze is very big. A lot of companies are just
yeah,
pausing their hiring internally and externally. But I don't want that to discourage anybody, because at the same time, you can still be in contact with people virtually. Introduce yourself, again, put that statement out. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I offer. I would love to work for you. I know that there are no positions open. I know the current state of the coronavirus. I understand. I completely do. But here's my resume. Here's my portfolio, whatever type of role you're applying for. And, I would love to stay in contact with you if you see any, after coronavirus lifts or whatever happens in your specific country that you're in. and you know, how I can stay in contact. And I think that's really something crucial to do. I think a lot of people are you know, I don't know why. It's because in our industry, what they do is, like, I remember when I was applying for my first job, you have to have all this experience. Or if you're applying for an internship, they want you to have all these years of experience. And I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be my experience. So my first job should be an internship, right? But you're saying that I need to have this amount of years of experience to get the internship, which is a bit backwards, because the internship should be my experience so that I can get a full-time job. So I want to say, don't be discouraged by that societal way of thinking in terms of you need all this experience to get an internship. Change your narrative, change your approach about how you're reaching out to these companies. If it is an internship that you want, again, change your narrative. They need you at the end of the day. They need your talent. You may feel like, oh, I need them. I mean, it's a give and take relationship.
Yeah.
You need them, they need you. So don't be hesitant in how you approach yourself. Like, hey, this is my experience. This is what I have to offer. Even if you don't have a long list of, I was speaking to someone the other day. He was saying he doesn't have a lot of experience in the corporate world. I think he has none. So that's scary for him. But at the end of the day, your experience about what you're doing, if you have a personal brand, or whatever you're doing, your jobs that you've had that weren't related to corporate fashion, those things can help build a narrative to who you are, the type of person you are, how you can work. And, you know, don't be discouraged. Change your narrative, approach these people and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. I think my assets will work really well with your brand. I would love to keep this conversation going. And I think that's just the way to do things.
Yeah. All right. Alicia, talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.